Hello again and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse and I am back for another bonus video, I think is what we're going to do here because you know what? It's St. Patrick's Day coming up here. I'm recording this the day before and you know what? Maybe we'll just have another bonus St. Patrick's Day video because why the heck not? I know I just did a recent channel update and random topic video because I really wanted to chat about The Last of Us Season 1 series from HBO. But boy, let me tell you, this week has also been very busy with announcements and events and things that I briefly want to touch on. So guess what? We're going to do another video because why not? I didn't mention last time when I did the Last of Us video. Like I said, I do, for anyone new to the channel, I do unlock videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Everything is in playlists, so if you want to find something on virtual reality, hardware reviews, low vision spotlight game videos, accessible games or apps for iOS, accessible PC games, console stuff, any number of things, just check out the playlist section. Hopefully you'll find something there that you will like. And to everyone who has been supporting the channel, I thank you. It is very much appreciated. And I did want to also address a comment or two that I've had on a couple of recent videos. You know, I love this new headset that I'm using right now. But I did have a comment or two from people that are like, hey, your game audio is a little low on some of the recent videos. And I'm still trying to iron that out because sometimes when I play it back before uploading, I'll record something and the mix will sound pretty good when I play the video, but then when it goes to YouTube, the mixing might sound a little bit different, and I'm not sure why. And so, yeah, I don't want the game to drown out my talking, but I don't want to be, super loud either. So I did crank up the game audio a little bit for some future videos, and they seem a little bit better. Um, but again, it's one of those things. It's a really hard thing to figure out sometimes, and sometimes other games, they come in better than others. Don't ask me why, but it happens. So that is a thing. But I'm trying the best I can. But I appreciate the feedback. So thank you for that. So we're going to just jump right in here. A lot of things happened this week. We had a couple of events happen. We had the CSUN Technology Conference. That happened this week, and there were several assistive technology announcements. I really wasn't expecting much this year. Like, yeah, okay, there's going to be new versions of software. There's probably going to be some new CCTVs, some braille displays or something, some updates or firmware updates or maybe a couple new devices. But interestingly, there were a fair few updates, at least that I heard about earlier this week. Haven't heard as much since, but a couple are definitely worth talking about. The first one is just like everybody in the mainstream technology sphere, shall we say, AI is really becoming a popular topic these days. We've got Chat GPT, we've got this, now they got a new version, GPT-4, which I'll talk about in a second. And then we have, the new Bing. We've got some other stuff, who knows? But a couple of apps specifically, a couple of apps and devices are working on some pretty interesting stuff. So you may have heard of apps like Be My Eyes or Envision AI, a competitor to Seeing AI that just went free last year. And these are like Envision AI. That's a camera multi-tool app that can read stuff, tell you a bunch of stuff. And then, of course, you have the Envision glasses. And then, of course, Be My Eyes is where you can get sighted assistance from a volunteer. You can take a picture or use the camera, and you can ask them a question, and they will try to help you out. Well, they're trying to work with AI through the GPT-4. So the main, like, GPT-4 is, of course, the new version of Chat GPT that everyone has been a buzz about lately. And before, I guess it could only work with text, so it could look up things on the internet, it could read things from documents and print, but it really couldn't do anything with images. But I guess, amongst other things, GPT-4 is now capable of trying to interpret and have conversations and assist with image-based things. So I'm going to alt tab to this. This is the first one that I saw. They did a little teaser.
Take picture. Ask question. A blue sweater with a high neckline.
Be my green thumb.
Take picture. Ask question.
Oh, it's...
This looks like an eucalyptus plant.
Be my translator.
It appears to be a bottle of Luoshao, a Chinese rice wine.
Be my maitre d'.
The second picture shows a page titled House Favorites. Would you like me to read out specific options?
Be my gym partner.
Then turn right and walk until you reach the first set of machines. The treadmills will be on your left.
Be my map.
Oh, wow.
Transfer to the central line and take the tube to Tottenham Court Road.
I have my autonomy back.
Be my guide.
It appears to contain various types of drinks such as Lucozade.
Be my gateway.
A white dress with a high neckline and long sleeves. It has a layered skirt with a scalloped hair.
Be my AI. Be my eyes.
So that's kind of cool, right? You heard some stuff about, like, oh, reading a document and asking, like, oh, I would like a summary of this section. Or the guy in the person in the gym are like, oh, go forward and the treadmills are on your left. Or, the gardening thing. Or just, they zip through about a dozen different scenarios there. And that's kind of fascinating. I wonder how accurate it is going to be. I know we have kind of a rough, you have the world or the scene preview and Seeing AI. You have similar functionality in Envision right now. But I don't know how they're interpreting things, or even like, Apple and VoiceOver, the image recognition when you use the magnifier or camera app. And that seems to do fairly well, although even that does some weird stuff. And of course, I'm not expecting this to be perfect either. I'm not expecting, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm cautiously hopeful. But again, I'm not going to take the sales pitch. I want to see how this performs in the real world rather than a manufactured video. Maybe we'll hear from people who have attended CSUN, and because apparently you can play with these on the show floor. But I am very intrigued about the potential uses for this type of AI assistance, because whether you're blind or even low vision, I can think of lots of things I would use this for, especially if I could do it hands-free on a wearable. That could be really interesting, and depending on how quickly and how accurately it worked, that might get me to think about a wearable more, like either Apple or Envision glasses, something like that. That could be interesting. And then, the more I thought about it, the Be My Eyes and Envision, the more I thought about this type of thing, it's not going to happen probably for a little while yet. But the future of this just seems really interesting, because if you could have, let's say, you could have the camera, you don't have to have the viewfinder showing you what the camera sees, because that eats up so much battery. But what if you had the camera on, let's say, a pair of glasses, and then it could just monitor the world? And then think about an app like Blind Square, where, Blind Square GPS, you can basically you can turn on and off different waypoints that you want to hear about. So you're walking around and maybe you want to hear about banks, coffee shops, gas stations, but you don't really care about anything else at the moment. So if you could give that, if you could give an app some criteria of like, hey, I would like to know if, as we're walking, or, if I'm looking at, even let's say I'm playing a game, and I could have it look for certain changes, like, oh, your health bar is at 20%. It can see that your health is really, or the health bar turned red from yellow to red. It could let you know that you're at low health for games that don't have accessibility in them. Or like, like the way it was reading documents and things, or summarizing things, if you could be in a game interface that wasn't, or a computer program or your screen reader wasn't reading it or something, and you could get a summary and it could tell you like, oh, your highlighted item, let's say I'm looking at an inventory for a game, and oh, your armor, this armor, the selected armor is 52 defense, 70 durability. I don't know, I'm just making stuff up or whatever, but there could be some really neat things, especially if you had a microphone that could just be activated maybe via keyword. So you could issue the keyword and then just say, hey, what is happening on my screen right now, or what is my health, or if it could kind of contextually figure that type of thing out that it could learn. There's some really fascinating things that you could do. Or like I said, when you're traveling, or like if you're cooking and you know that like, oh, when you cook it enough, it's supposed to turn a certain color. Um, like, oh, okay, then you might know that. I mean, I'm just trying to think of any sort of example if you had a camera continuously monitoring. Like right now, it seems like you're just taking a picture of something. But if you had like a camera just monitoring, like I said, 3 to 5 years from now, I could see something like that happening, depending on how well this first phase goes. So if you are interested in the Envision stuff, they do have if you go into the app, you can sign up for the waiting list to get into their preview for their AI assistant, which I have definitely done. And if Envision is watching this, if someone from Be My Eyes is watching this, or if you know somebody, if anyone knows anybody from either of those two companies, if you could share that with Be My Eye, this video with Be My Eyes, with Envision, I would love to be not just a tester, but I would, like I said, I'd love to be a part of shaping how this type of thing goes forward. As an end user. So those I found were particularly interesting. The other thing that I thought was sort of intriguing, let me scroll up my Twitter feed here. I'll show you guys a picture of it right here. So Orbit, you remember they made the Orbit Reader, the Orbit Writer. There's like almost like a Braille and Speaky type thing right now. Apparently next year, they're going to be coming out with this Optima, which is, I kind of love their little description here. They're like, yeah, we're gonna put an end to the, let's see, how does it say, blah 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 blah, update, yeah, let's see, yeah, being an end to the proprietary note taker. This is supposed to be an upgradable, modular Braille computer. So to me, it kind of looks like a combination of like the shape and the overall like design of it kind of has like the Orbit Writer or the Orbit Reader feel to it, but it kind of looks like a Mantis Q40. You've got the 40 cell Brailles down in the bottom. Looks like you've got some wheels or rockers or something. I can't quite tell what those are supposed to be on either side down below. You've got a little bit of a like a wrist rest sort of a thing, or a little bit of space below the Braille display. But then you have your QWERTY keyboard right above it, and everything else, like I said, except for the little area below the Braille display, everything is right up toward the edge. Like I said, it looks kind of like the Mantis Q40. And so supposedly they're supposed to be like Windows 11. They're supposed to be like, you can get everything up to like a Core i7. Well, they say like 64 gigs of RAM if you wanted. You can customize how much RAM or how much storage you want. So they're going like more mainstream parts. And then also they were looking at like, because there's a blog post that I retweeted from the other day, and it looks like there's modular pieces to where, do you want to pop in something that has an SD card reader, or do you want it to be a USB-C port, a USB-A port. Not sure what other types of modules, maybe an extra storage thing or something. I don't know, but I'm kind of curious. I mean, this sound, like I said, admittedly, I'm not a huge fan, especially of the proprietary note takers. 5, 6 grand. And it was funny because even in their blog post, they mentioned, they're like, yeah, um, you take a traditional note taker out of the box and, oh, you're already running an outdated version of an operating system. Yeah, that usually happens with the current note takers out there right now, and even Android in general. Um, Freedom Scientific tried their, what did they call that thing? Where they basically took this little tiny computer and put it with Focus 20 or Focus 40. L Braille, that's what it was. And it could have been a neat idea, but it just seems so underpowered. Like I saw one time and it was just slow. Like I could do, you know, yeah, it's a computer, but it was just, like I said, it was so slow and underpowered. I don't remember how much RAM those things have now, but I think like it didn't have hardly any RAM in it when I saw it, the earlier version. Um, it's like, well, I can do a lot with my phone here, if not quicker. Um, but potentially modular design, modern hardware. Again, I'm not going to get excited, because, like I said, yeah, they can sell it to you, they can, advertise it or whatever, make it sound interesting. But I want to see realistically what this thing actually is. I want to know what kind of a price ranges they're going to have for it. Orbit Reader, their Braille displays have been a more reasonable price, and they did say that they are going to give you the option of, do you want the type of refreshable Braille found in the Orbit Reader, which is a little cheaper, or do you want a traditional, the piezoelectric Braille cells that your traditional Braille display has? So I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of curious to, is it going to be confusing to configure one of these things? I mean, like, I could figure it out, but like, is your average, like, you take your average Braille note taker user, are they going to know what the heck is going on? I mean, you show them anything other than a note taker and they use a regular computer and they're like, huh? So I don't know. It's one of the more interesting types of designs that I've seen. But again, what'll it be in real life, in the real world? I don't know. I don't know. Those are the main things that I can think of from CSUN this year. Well, and I guess Orbit is also making a few portable CCTVs, handheld CCTVs. I think there's like a 3.5, a 4 point something, and then a 5-inch version. Not sure what the image quality or the price is going to be on those, but hey, you know what? I mean, if you can make these types of devices more affordable, good, I'm all for it. The one other thing that I did see somebody tweet yesterday, I think it was, where they said, I guess Freedom Scientific is supposed to be theoretically auto-detecting Braille displays better with their new version of JAWS. And I don't know if that, what I don't know is I don't know if that means they're going to finally support a more open Braille standard. Because unless you're a focus display, you got to get your third-party drivers. God forbid we want to use regular USB standards, or what is that open HID compliant or whatever that everybody's starting to use right now. I don't know if they're going to go that route, or if you still have to go download your proprietary Braille drivers unless you have a focus display. So it'd be interesting to see if they make that a little more friendly. But yeah, otherwise, I don't know a whole lot else from CSUN, but I'm very intrigued about the potential of all this AI stuff. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of potential bad things. Again, it's all in how people use it. Yeah, you can use it for good, you can use it for bad, anything in between. There's definitely a lot of concerns. Whether it's harming other people, ripping off their intellectual property. You got authors, or you got people, you got AI just basically, there's concern about plagiarism for text or for images or video, audio. You got the deep fake, like faking people's voices or appearances. Yeah, there's all those things that you have to worry about. But again, there could also be a lot of potential, and accessibility is definitely one of those areas where it could be kind of interesting. So that is CSUN. And then we had another conference this week as well, AXCon, which is a 2-day free virtual conference I've attended the last couple of years. And it was 2 days worth of different accessibility sessions and panels. Unfortunately, I didn't get to attend a lot of the sessions. Thankfully, they are archived and I can catch up on the ones I missed. But I did have several work meetings this week, both days, so it's like I could only attend a few of them so far, but I did catch up on a few of them. And there's a few that caught my attention. They had two different sessions, no, three. One I didn't watch yet, but they had two sessions that I watched on game accessibility. They had one from Steve Saylor, and that was really on going from, the why should we do accessibility to how are we going to do it. They had that one. That was decent. That was pretty good. And then they had one from Sightless Combat talking about his experience with God of War Ragnarok. And, I covered that game last year, and it did some great things with accessibility, but there were still some shortcomings, even when comparing it to something like the Last of Us series, where there were some traversal issues. The text to speech was not supported everywhere, like your quests and equipment and everything. Puzzles were difficult in some places. So you really did need still a fair bit of sighted assistance for different things. That was a good session. Then they had one that I haven't watched yet on what they did, I guess, for accessibility with was it Candy Crush? Not Saga, but I think one of the newer ones. I can't even keep track of all of them anymore. But I guess they did some accessibility through those. But a couple of the other ones that I really did rather like was they had one on ageism in accessibility, and that was pretty interesting because that one they were talking about they worked with a lot of seniors and had them trying out different technology, and a lot of what she was reporting was a lot of the things that the people trying to learn or use the technology, some of their feedback. And yeah, they were working with seniors, but a lot of what they were saying, well, a lot of what they said, I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's just not even a senior thing. That's just good design. Or poor design, with the way what they were saying. Um, everything from, how straightforward things were. There's things that, people like me, or a lot of people who probably watch my videos, or that are into technology and assistive technology. We use this stuff every day. What people looking at, what does a dot 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 mean? What is that dot 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 button? What does that do? What is you got little buttons that don't have any text on them, and they're just like little squiggly lines or weird shapes. Like, what do they do? Okay, we know what a Bluetooth symbol looks like, or maybe some of us know what the share button looks like, because it doesn't, VoiceOver says share, but visually it doesn't. It's just a shape. Um, Things like that. What is a hamburger menu? Somebody says, click on the hamburger menu. What? a lot of interesting feedback. So that session was pretty interesting. And then we had another one on accessibility and burnout, which I can kind of identify with. That's where, that one was run by Shell Little, and she did a really good job during that session. We were actually on a panel late last year for the Game Accessibility Conference on mobile game accessibility. Her and I, and then a couple of other people, were on a panel. But she did this session on accessibility work and burnout, which definitely can be a thing, and she made a lot of good points there, I think. Last year was awesome for me. Like, I had lots of consulting opportunities, podcast interviews or appearances and interviews. Get to write that article and get that in the Reload magazine. I mean, there's just like a lot of memorable things from 2022. But at the same time, I had to cut back in a few areas, doing all that work, doing the YouTube channel, having my day job, and then that's why I cut back on Twitch. That's why I haven't really streamed much in the last year, because something had to give a little bit, and that's what I chose. But it was a really interesting session, really talking about not just the work itself, but it can be exhausting even just getting um, acknowledged that you exist, or that your opinions are worth anything. You know, we're always like, no matter, like, accessibility is not just a thing that, people just naturally think about and they go, hey, you want to be a part of this? Sure. Um, in a lot of cases, let's say as an advocate or a consultant, you could reach out to 10 companies and one or two might actually get back to you. You might get maybe 3 or 4 responses, but a lot of them, you'll get a generic, thank you for your feedback. It is important to us. We will pass it along to the blah, 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 blah. So those are pretty much garbage because they're just acknowledging you. They're just giving you the generic boilerplate response. But you might get 1 or 2 companies that actually take you up on an offer and be like, oh, hey, yeah, let's see if we can make our game or our app or our whatever more accessible. But it's always a uphill battle of, we have to fight to even let people know we exist. And if they know we exist, do they even care? It's like, well, yeah, we could do accessibility, but that's a lot of work for not many people, and why should we even bother? It's like, oh, well, thank you for telling me that I don't mean anything to you. That's great. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Stuff like that. So I mean, like, a lot of it, a lot of the problems is, not is it's not really us. It's the perception of people and their attitudes just toward accessibility or people with disabilities in general. So I don't know. It was a neat talk. I thought that was pretty well done. There's a lot of different other sessions that I have not even watched yet, so I'll probably check some of those out during work tomorrow. See if there's any other ones that really look interesting that I missed. But yeah, AxeCon, that was a 2-day conference, and I believe all the archives are on their YouTube channel. So they might even be public by now, but I'm not sure. So we had those 2 things. And then on top of that, we had, GDC is this week, the Game Developers Conference. And I know there are at least 1 or 2, if not more, sessions on accessibility there. I wish those were publicly recorded or streamed or something, because, God, I would love to watch some of those. But, again, you have to be there. But I'm just glad that accessibility is really catching on, at conferences, game announcements. And speaking of game announcements, that's also what I wanted to talk about, because boy, howdy, since I did that video on The Last of Us Season 1 this last weekend, This week we've had a few game accessibility announcements. We've had the big surprise for me was on Monday or Tuesday. Alchemy Labs, the crew that made Job Simulator, Vacation Simulator, they made a game last year called Cosmonious High, and it's kind of got that same sort of cartoony art style. But they just released an update for it. They call it the Low Vision Update. And boy, did that catch my attention. I retweeted the trailer that they released, and oh god, I wish I could play it. Unfortunately, you need an Oculus, or you need a Rift 2 in order to play it. I have the original, or the Quest 2. I'm sorry, the Quest 2. I only have the Quest 1. Now, I might be able to try to hook my Rift or my Quest up to my computer, and then I could try to play it through Steam, which I might eventually do, but I don't really want to hook up my Oculus Rift to my computer right now, because A, I don't really want to clutter my desk anymore, and B, it takes up so damn many USB ports again. You know, it's like you got your Rift, you got your cameras, sensor cameras, and then you got like your controller, if you know, it's just all kinds of stuff that I don't really want to hook all that crap up and try to set it up for my tiny play area again. I might try to see if I can hook my Quest up to my computer, because that's just one cable, and then you can kind of treat it like you can turn your Quest into kind of a different type of PC VR Rift type headset. So maybe if I get ambitious enough, maybe I'll give that a shot at some point. But this Cosmonious High sounds really interesting, because remember that video that I did, the commentary for Seeing VR, that Microsoft was prototyping a few years ago? If you watch that trailer for Cosmonious High, this update adds so many low vision features. You've got like audio description. You go into a room and it tells you what's in there. You point at something with your laser pointer and it tells you what it is. You get haptic and audio feedback that you've actually are grabbing something, that you are interacting. They have some kind of a zoom or magnification thing. They've got like outlines and contrast settings, and just there's so many features in there. Like, I don't know if the game would be playable by totally blind players without actually getting my hands on it. I really can't say, because the other thing that I'm sort of curious about is, do you have to use the laser pointer interface? Or could you use like your analog sticks on your Quest controllers to snap between objects or items of interest, like you would in something like Brock the Investigator or As Dusk Falls, being able to snap between things rather than just waving your hands around in space and hoping you bash into something. But I'm very intrigued. Like, it's kind of like The Last of Us for VR. It's like going from nothing to, holy crap, there's a ton of accessibility features. And if it wasn't so dang expensive, because the PlayStation VR 2 is out, and from what I've heard, there are a few issues here and there, and I think there's a few areas that don't speak, but like a lot of, because of the way that Sony did their PS5 dashboard and text-to-speech, the PlayStation VR 2 does read a lot of the dashboard in VR. That would be really, really helpful. And I know that Cosmonious High is available for the PSVR 2, but I just don't really want to spend $550 on another headset right now. I really don't. So, Sony, if you want to help out, and I can review one of those things for you, send them over, and I'll be glad to do a review for you. Just saying. Anyway. So yeah, that happened. very excited about that. I shared that with my XR Access group earlier this week, and it got a lot of people thinking, a lot of people excited, talking. So that was a cool thing that came out of nowhere. Another game, this Toxic Crusader. I guess I have never seen the movie. It's this cheesy, I think it was like a '90s movie. It's supposed to be really kind of bad, but in a one of those bad, so bad it's good movies apparently. Um, but they're coming out with this beat 'em up, this brawler. I saw the trailer for it last night, and it looked fun. It looked okay. Yeah, I'm in. It looks good. Well, then one of the developers today had tweeted out, "Oh, by the way, yeah, this is going to have a boatload of accessibility features." Now, unfortunately, he didn't say which ones they were going to include yet, and he said there's going to be more to come. Maybe they're still ironing out what will be there. Because someone else also then asked, like, "Hey, are there going to be features for blind and low vision players?" And he's like, "Well, I'm going to try to make this as accessible as I can." And so I tweeted out because it's a brawler, I said, "Well, hey, you might want to check out this video that I did for Brock the Investigator, because hey, it's got some beat 'em up stuff in there. Might give you some ideas if you're looking for some." And he acknowledged it. So yeah, the Toxic Crusader game, I guess, is gonna be another game that has a lot of accessibility features. Not sure about blind accessibility yet, but hey, hopefully that'll be good. It's supposed to come out sometime later this year. So that was another pleasant surprise. Like, I love the fact that like we're just getting. There's been a couple of other posts this week about developers reaching out and just asking, "Hey, we're making this type of game. You want to let us know? Reach out and let us know what type of accessibility features are most important to you for this style of game or this genre of game." So yes, there are definitely people who are still idiots about it. There are people that are still like, "Oh, you're ruining the game. You're taking resources away from other things, and get good at the game, and who cares about all these different things that people say." But hey, you know what? We're finally starting to make a dent. Well, enough of us have stood up and advocated and complained and requested enough that enough developers have started to actually take notice. There's a lot of games that are adding accessibility. There's even more that are starting to add it. So it is becoming a thing. And I'm proud of that. I'm just to be a small part of that. So we have those, we had those types of things. People reaching out asking about accessibility. We got a couple major game announcements. One, I wish I could. Oh God, I wish I could play that Cosmonious High right now. Because I'm not gonna buy a Quest 2 because I'm sure there'll be a Quest 3 later this year or something like that. Who knows? Maybe the PlayStation VR might drop in price a little bit because, oof, $550. That's a chunk of change. And like I said, I already have two VR headsets. I really don't want to buy another one until I know not only that it's accessible, but that I have a few games that I can play. I mean, yes, I can fuddle my way through games the way I have been, but I'm tired of doing that. Like, I'm tired of struggling to play VR games and having to, do weird hacks that I've talked about before. So, yeah, I'm just kind of on a wait and see mode right now. Might pick something up eventually, but we'll see. But yeah, we got some good game accessibility announcements, and I'm sure with E3 coming up in a couple of months, or the other events surrounding E3, you got Jeff Keighley's events, we got Microsoft doing their thing on, what is it, June 11th, I think, and they're having a Starfield Direct or whatever you want to call them after the Microsoft show. So I want to learn more about that game. I hope that one has some accessibility in it. But like I said, I don't remember if I said this on Twitter, but it's only we're only midway through March, and I feel like I have to start writing down games because we've had such a strong year already. not just for accessibility, but just for cool games in general. I mean, we've had Dead Space, we've had um, Hi-Fi Rush. Those, they're not really accessible, but for low vision, they're working pretty well. And then we have things like Hogwarts Legacy. That was just a game that people really loved, and I really enjoyed it overall. And that one did have a fair bit of accessibility. Brock the Investigator. I didn't even know that game existed until earlier this week, or late last week, whenever. Um, that's a thing. I came out of nowhere and it surprised the heck out of me. I love it. Um, the Resident Evil 4, that's going to have some accessibility, but I'm not sure if it's going to have enough of what I want in it. We'll see when the full version comes out. The demo was meh. I talked about it in the last video. And then we got our first major VR title that is adding a bunch of accessibility. We've got people reaching out for about accessibility. We've got Toxic Crusader coming. Yeah, we got The Last of Us Part 1 coming out next week for PC. I'm going to be playing the heck out of that. I hope that the sequel comes to PC as well, because I will definitely be picking that up if it does too. So yeah, things are looking pretty good for accessibility. And I haven't even gotten into the other thing. Like, Microsoft had an announcement for Office, I guess. They're also, what do they call it? Copilot, they called it. I didn't watch the thing. I just read a little blurb about it. But earlier, I think it was today, they had, yesterday or today, I think it was today, where they had, they made an announcement where they're basically adding AI to Office to, like, have it help you with, like, oh, I want to make a professional resume, or like, I don't know, I didn't even know what it can all do, but with Office and stuff like that. So again, this AI stuff is definitely the hot buzz of the town right now, which, you know what, that's okay with me, because if it means they quit talking about NFTs, good. If I hear the word NFT ever again, it'll be too soon. They're dumb, they're pointless, and at least, like, love it or hate it, or good uses, bad uses, or potential, at least I can, like, with this AI stuff and machine learning, I can actually think of uses for that immediately. Like, I see value in that right away. The three letter initial that shall not be named, I know there's just nothing. It just, no, go away. It's pointless. Um, so yeah, that's, again, I know I just did a channel update and I blabbed a whole bunch about The Last of Us HBO series and a few other odds and ends. But you know what? We've had a lot to talk about this week again. It's been another busy week. Lots of potentially exciting game accessibility and other accessibility news and stuff like that. If you have not watched the Last of Us HBO series, and if you're a fan of the games, or if you've never played the games but want to know what the hubbub is about, I'd recommend it. Definitely check it out. And I did read yesterday that they are coming out with a physical edition of for season 1 of the series. You can get it on Blu-ray and DVD this summer. I want to say middle of July. I do hope that they add, like, I would love to see, like, when DVDs first came out and they started having, like, special features like making ofs and documentaries and behind the scenes, and, like, if they have audio commentary tracks, sometimes they had multiple commentary tracks. You might have something from the actors, you might have one from, like, the director or the creator or something like that. Yeah, I would love to have that kind of a thing, and especially with the last season of Cobra Kai happening either later this year or next year, whenever it happens. I want a full, like, I want a whole series box set of that series, and just go freaking nuts. Give me all the special features, interviews, commentaries, It's one of my favorite series in recent memory. I freaking love Cobra Kai, and The Last of Us is amazing. So, like, yeah, those are a couple of my recent favorite shows these days. And yeah, if you're going to bring them to physical media, that is what I want. And that, I think, is where we're going to end it. So, another little bonus for you guys. Hopefully, this will be an entertaining St. Patrick's Day video for you. Assuming that my mic didn't turn itself off, which I do hear a little bit of my microphone still, so it seems like it's working. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Happy St. Patrick's Day, and don't drink too much. I don't think I have any alcohol right now, otherwise I probably would kick back a few. Yeah, anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Give it a like if you did. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79, illegally-cited.com, twitch.tv/illegally-cited, and right here on YouTube. Until next time, I will chat with everybody again later.